True. Mic 1 2 testing. Check. True. Does that work for you? Mic 1 2 testing. Check. Perfect. Hey Adrian, how's it going? True. Does that work for you?
Let me check my audio settings. Yeah. Check. Can you hear me
Mic
now?
1 2 testing. Check. Perfect. Hey Adrian, how's it going? True. Does that work for you?
Good. How are you? Audio settings.
I'm good. I think you just heard me in the stream itself, so I just had to mute myself. But yeah, all good on your side?
Yeah, all good. Check. Can you hear me now? Taking
Testing.
some bites of my pizza.
Perfect.
Because
Hey Adrian, how's it going?
to get lunch afterwards.
No worries. I think we're just getting started in 3 minutes, so we'll let people join in, and then we'll get the conversation going. You like my new wallpaper?
It's awesome. I just didn't know what is OAT. What's OAT?
It's an on-chain achievement token. Basically, it's an NFT that verifies that you've done something on the blockchain. So in this case, it verifies that you attended this AMA. We've been actually using them over the past couple of events, and it's super interesting how the turnouts are always kind of really intrigued to see what we're gonna do with the oats in the future, right? Because you can then add utility to them as you like. You could say, because you attended the Wombat AMA, for example, you get a whitelist spot or an allow list spot. Because you attended XYZ event, you get this or that. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds like POAP. That I know.
Pretty much the same concept. Yeah, just in my opinion at least, a more streamlined like method of handing them out.
Are these NFTs then, I guess? On Polygon or what?
So they can be on Matic or BNB chain at the moment. Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I think POAP made a mistake by going on XDAI initially.
Yeah, you never know, right? Space moves quick. Cool. I think okay, so we're live on YouTube. We're just gonna give people 2 more minutes to come in. We need a proper mic for Omar. Why am I getting mic comments, guys? I have one right here. Just I'm not using it. Trying to keep it lean. Got someone saying enjoy the pizza.
Sorry?
No, I think I just saw someone say enjoy the pizza.
I really like pizza. And Nutri-Scores on the packaging, and it has a B. So I don't know how that's supposed to work, that a frozen pizza has a B in Nutri-Score. Like, really? But whatever. I feel good about having it.
Yeah, that's all you need, right? You just need to feel good. I think
Yeah.
we need these kind of small wins at the moment. I think I'm ready, Johnny. We all good on your side? Can we get things started? I think we've got people joining now on YouTube as well.
No, Olga's not joining.
No, I meant in the live stream chat. Don't worry about it.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Would it be in the live chat?
Yeah.
Yes, she's joining the live chat.
yeah,
We're
perfect.
sitting across.
Cool. All right, I think let's get started then. I think we've got a bunch of questions lined up. We have a lot of interesting things to cover, so I don't want to, keep us waiting for too long. Let's pick it up in the beginning. First of all, obviously, thank you so much for joining. Everyone that's tuning in, thank you so much for joining for the very first time. I think this is the first time we ever do a YouTube live stream, which was quite interesting. But we wanted to kind of do something different, show some faces, and have a more interactive conversation. For all of you that are not familiar with Wombat, you're about to find out a lot more. I think it's one of the most exciting projects that I've personally seen, because we've worked with these guys for the past couple of months very, very closely, and I'm keen to kind of give Adrian the opportunity to start speaking and sharing what they're up to, and obviously everything leading up to the IDO that's coming up very soon. But that being said, as we kind of hinted at or highlighted earlier, we do have an OAT NFT for the first 300 participants. So just to claim it, super straightforward process. Make sure that you're in the YouTube live stream comment section. Make sure that you fill the form, and you can then go ahead, and you will need one secret code that I'll give you towards the end of the session, but it's pretty straightforward from that point onwards. With that out of the way, Adrian, thank you so much for joining. And I'd like to start by just allowing you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about who Adrian is.
For me, or no sound at all?
At all.
Okay, so there's no sound, Omar.
One sec. Let's double check that, because I can hear you loud and clear, so you don't have to worry about the actual
Yeah,
voice.
me too. But I've been getting 3 messages now that there's no sound on YouTube.
Okay, let's just double check that with tech.
Now?
Let's
Yeah,
just
okay.
double check now. Okay, yeah, it seems like now your sound is on.
I guess I'll be repeating myself then. Omar will have to go through 2 painful minutes of repetition.
I'll withstand it for you, Adrian. You can go ahead.
So yeah, again, hi and thanks for having us. Yeah, about myself, I was born in the 80s, so I basically grew up in the 90s with all the gaming platforms that were out there, and I basically played anything that I could get my hands on. I played Game Boy, I played NES, we had a computer, 286 computer. I played anything that I could get on. And then when I was 7, I started programming because my mom was doing a programming course, and I read her books, and I kind of always wanted to do games, so I started programming little text-based games on our 286 computer, which was obviously totally strange. But yeah, and then that made me want to study computer science and mathematics, which I did, and I graduated. But instead of going into gaming, which felt very risky and kind of uncertain as a career path back then, back in the 2000s, I went into finance, and I joined Deutsche Börse, the German stock exchange operator. So I started building market models and trading systems for commodities for 7 years. Large-scale systems with some hundreds of billions of trading volume in the years to come. And then after 7 years, I left. That was in 2013, and I started my own first company. That was a software services company. But also 2013 was the first year I bought Bitcoin. In early 2013 at $90. I still remember those days. So it was kind of day trading a little bit of Bitcoin back then on Mt. Gox. I still have my claim open, so fingers crossed I'll be getting my, I don't know, 2 Bitcoin back from Mt. Gox. I don't know. Let's see. In 2016, we went with my company. We decided to offer software services on top of blockchain, on top of Ethereum back then. That brought us into the ICO space back in 2017, where we had a lot of clients from. And in 2018, I decided to set up a separate entity and kind of focus on blockchain things full-time and not do anything else, right? And then in 2018, we set up the company that that now is called Spielworks, the company that runs Wombat. And we basically wanted to first analyze the market and see which industries would be the most likely to adopt blockchain in the mass market, right? And we quickly identified gaming, which was a very fortunate event for me because I finally could make it into the gaming space. So we decided to build something to make it very, very easy for gamers to onboard into the Web3, into blockchain, right? And Wombat launched in June 2019 with exactly that goal in mind. First, we wanted to solve the kind of technical onboarding problem where people would get accounts, they would be able to sign transactions, they would have key backups and these kinds of things, right? We originally focused a lot on the EOS-IO space because that looked like a very promising area for gaming in general because of its UX. We later on added EVM support to Wombat, but Wombat originally was mostly kind of a wallet, right? And then we kept adding things to Wombat. So what we always had in mind and what we're still working towards is Wombat being this fully fledged Web3 gaming platform where you can find your games, you can play them, you get a lot of gamification on top of the games themselves, you get a lot of NFTs by playing games. Any achievement is basically an NFT, right? And then you can also do a lot of things with these NFTs, right? Right now we have a lot of challenges in the ecosystem. We have a game rewards platform that's called OnePlay, where you have challenges and quests and all kinds of things related to NFTs that you can get from us. But we also have an NFT staking mini game, which is called Wombat Dungeon Master, where we have about 700,000 NFTs staked. That basically gamifies ownership of NFTs, right? In a game way. It's one of the top 20 games according to DAppRadar worldwide and across chains. So this is what we have, right? And where we're going with this is basically having this integrated experience where gamers, specifically gamers who had no prior Web3 experience, can come in and basically experience Web3 in a super low risk way, right? But at the same time, have a really good idea or gain a really good idea of what Web3 is and how it actually enriches gaming, right? And there's a lot of FUD around blockchain gaming and a lot of criticism, right? And I understand a lot of that. But out of our 2.6 million users that we've acquired so far, we had not a single person complaining about getting NFTs from playing games, right? That just doesn't happen. So that's what we've been doing. Like I said, we've been around for quite a while. We've had our 3-year anniversary last month. We've onboarded over 2.6 million people. We've handed out over 1 million NFTs, right? So we have this huge community already. Feel free to join our Discord, where we have over 70,000 people signed up, right? So that's a huge and lively community, and we decided to do a token specifically to empower this community. Right? We've been preparing that token for a long, long time, and now we want to use the IDO to actually give everyone in the community and also in the Polkastarter community, obviously, the opportunity to like participate in the success and the growth of the platform, and also kind of being rewarded for it long term.
Thank you so much for that intro. I'm just taking down notes because you mentioned a lot of really interesting points that I want to maybe touch on before we dive a bit deeper into kind of the specifics of actually the launch and the IDO itself. You talked about onboarding Web2 gamers into Web3. You talked about kind of making that transition a lot easier. Maybe just for someone that hasn't, I mean, I understand because I've used the platform, but for someone that's just joining in, that's never seen it, never used it, never, looked at what that experience looks like, could you just walk us through really quickly, like just that experience of getting a Web2 gamer that maybe is skeptical, that maybe, is against almost for no reason, maybe, or for some reason is against NFTs and gaming, is against blockchain gaming, and how you kind of take them through that process of, you know what, this isn't so bad. Oh, this is actually easy. Oh, I like this. Oh, I enjoy it. Let me stay and stick around.
Yeah, I guess one of the parts where we're starting is that we're focusing mostly on mobile gamers, right? And so the games that we're focusing on are not that much hardcore games, where most of the criticism about NFTs has been coming from, right? But they're more casual games, and these gamers, they are much, let's say, less loyal towards their game franchises, but they just want to play fun games, right? And they're much more casual with how they play games. And what we do is basically we offer these people a very easy way to onboard our platform. It's like right now the easiest way of getting onboarded is in wompplay.io. That's a website, right? And you basically just sign up. You can download mobile and also desktop games, but it's more mobile games than desktop. You can download them. You can basically play them. And as you progress in the game, you will be receiving rewards from us. And these rewards can take two forms. One is it's Wombats, and these Wombats you can then redeem. Like Wombats is a soft currency on our platform. You can redeem those Wombats for crypto, but you can also receive NFTs from us. And these NFTs will be directly deposited into your wallet as soon as you've downloaded the Wombat app and connected and basically logged in with the same account that you've used on Wombat on OnePlay. You'll be able to interact with these NFTs, right? And that's I think it's a very smooth way of receiving your first NFT, your first gaming related NFT. That is also a little bit like an achievement badge, right? Because you know that whoever has received such an NFT must have played game XYZ for at least this many hours, or at least achieved this milestone, right? So it kind of this is also, apart from being something that has a value, a market value, right? It's also a display of an achievement, and that's very powerful. And I think it's there's no risk in doing that, right? You just download a game. You would probably play some other free-to-play mobile games anyway as a mobile gamer, right? So you just download some of these games and you get to play. And these games, just to be clear, they're not games that we build, but these are mass market games that have been out there that like Dice Dreams, Vikings, Macarena, Lords Mobile, Raid Shadow Legends, World of Tanks, right? These kinds of things. So that's titles with 50 million, 100 million. Some of them have 400 million downloads, right? So they are proven kind of mass market compatible titles that are provenly fun to play, right? So for us, it's like we believe that long term, the whole play to earn thing can only work if the games are actually fun to play, and there's people who want to spend money in order to make progress in the game because it's fun and not because they're making more money, right? And that's why we've been always focusing on fun games. And for us, in this initial step, it doesn't matter whether these games are Web 2 or Web 3 games. They should just be easy to onboard and not have kind of a super steep learning or access curve, like having to download a separate wallet, having to deposit and bridge tokens, having to buy NFTs for $500, and these kinds of things, right? So we also have Web3 games like Upland and Splinterlands on the platform, but we don't really distinguish between, is that a Web2 or Web3 game? It's just a game, and the game is fun to play.
Yeah, I think I mean I'm also getting complaints about my microphone, so hopefully you guys can hear me now. But in terms of that last point that you made, I think that's super important because you know, if we continue to judge Web3 games as in their Web3 games, I think the standard is always going to be really low because we tend to hear it a lot, right? Like, oh, it's a really good game for a Web3 game, but it's like, yeah, but it has to be a good game in general. It has to be a good game across. Like, there has to be a reason for me to drop my Call of Duty, drop my Fortnite, drop my, you know, whatever, and actually play this game because this game is not competing with other Web3 games. It's competing with everything else that has my attention. So it's really, I guess it's super important what you mentioned there in terms of like actually having games that have traction, games that have downloads, games that have, you know, loyal communities, because then it's a lot easier for you to just say, okay, we'll integrate NFTs here, we'll do this, we'll do a quest, we'll do an achievement, and you're no longer trying to almost build a reputation for a game. You've established that all these games already have players and you're just adding utility to them. So I think that's super interesting because there isn't much like this in the space. And I guess that's a perfect segue into my next question, which was, at the moment, I guess, in terms of the ecosystem with Web3 gaming and blockchain gaming, like where do you see yourself and what does it look like for you moving forward? We saw that you, for example, uh, had a partnership with Splinterlands, which is, you know, one of the relatively popular titles in Web3 gaming. What does that look like for you, and how do you think you can like fill that gap, right? Because we talk about Web3 gaming so much, but it's still so early, and you guys with, you know, 2 million plus signups, that's already pretty much almost everyone in in the Web3 gaming space if we're talking numbers. So What does that look like for you, and how does that future look like as well?
So we've always been focusing on kind of first-time blockchain users, right? So I would say that most of these 2.6 million signups have been coming not from the like traditional Web3 blockchain community, but really from Web2 gamers, maybe like 80-20, right? So that's what we always wanted. We want to create the space where we can effectively get people to experience Web3, right? Especially when they're new to it. And we've just been talking, I think yesterday, we've been talking with a colleague, and we realized that there's like, I don't know, depending on the stats, 3 billion gamers in the world, right? And but there's like 250 or something million crypto people owning or having exposure to crypto in any way, right? So out of these 250 million crypto people, we've basically touched 1% already with our audience, right? And 1% of these people who had exposure to crypto are Wombat users, which is like really fascinating. But we really want to help increase this number of 200 million to 3 billion to like 7 billion effectively eventually, right? So we think that crypto and blockchain and Web3 is generally beneficial. It's specifically beneficial for gaming, right? And not everything about it, but a lot of the propositions of blockchain are valuable for gaming, and we really see ourselves in this gateway position where we can help people get into the space and have fun while doing that, right? And not even think about like why do I have to do this as much as why would I not do that, right? Like what's the downside of doing this? There is kind of no downside, right? And I think that this is much more beneficial, much less risky to people to actually just experience that. And to be honest, when we launched OnePlay 2 years ago, and I started playing traditional games again after having played only blockchain games or Web3 games for a year, I was literally wondering myself, why would I play a game where I don't get to keep any of the assets, right? So you get used to that. You kind of get used to getting assets that you own from games, right? And then you're even okay sacrificing a little bit of the fun part if you get that upside. At least that's my personal experience, right? And I think that obviously in 5 years or so, Web3 and Web2 games will be on par in terms of the fun part, right? And people can choose whether they play a Web2 or Web3 game, which is equally fun, then they should be, like most of them should actually choose Web3 at least from a rational point of view, right? Because at least they get to keep the stuff that they play for there. And this is what we want, like this is the kind of experience that we want to show to people at a large scale, right? We'd be super happy being the gateway for 200, 300 million people to actually onboard the Web3 space through gaming, right? And it doesn't matter whether their first touch point is a Web2 or Web3 game, so long as they actually get to experience and get to use Web3 later on.
I think you touched on a really good point there. Before moving into more specifics, and I have numbers that I really want to kind of highlight as well, I want to check the mic one last time. I'll give you guys all a chance to tell me if it's good, if it's bad, if it's high, if it's low. I think, Adrian, you can hear me pretty loud and clear, if I'm not mistaken. But we're trying to be mindful for everyone else in the chat. All good, guys? Yes? Green light? Can we go ahead? Can I ask the more specific questions now? The numbers? I like some of these questions because I think, it's crazy how, it almost seems ridiculous now in retrospect, but there's so much in the space that is purely built on speculation in terms of like, oh, this project is going to do blah 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 blah. This project is going to excel at blah blah blah. I'm looking at, so let me start with this one. 1.2 million NFTs minted as just one of the first key highlights that we have with Wombat. Um, I guess I wanted maybe to give you an opportunity to elaborate a bit more on that and how the NFT marketplace exactly works, since you have so many different games and you're essentially like allowing these games to, have NFTs or introduce NFTs. How does your marketplace work? How do you manage to get to 1.2 million? What's that been like? What's your projection moving forward? Like, I think we really need to start touching on some of these traction points and diving a bit deeper to kind of just showcase how much traction there really is with you guys.
Yeah. So most of these NFTs that we've minted, we've been handing out to gamers, right? As I said earlier, we have this game reward program. People play games. They reach, I don't know, level 15 in a particular game. I don't know, we've just launched Rail Nation NFTs, right? And based upon your milestones that you reach, you get a random Rail Nation NFT. We basically created these NFTs with publisher IP. So we're using trains, right? And we have a nice little wrapper around them and it looks really nice. And then you can collect them. And like I said, there's a lot of gamification around those. But if we speak about 1.2 million NFTs minted, that's basically NFTs that we minted as rewards for users. So that means that our users have been playing games to an extent where we would actually hand out NFTs to them as a reward to begin with, right? Obviously, minting 1.2 million NFTs on some blockchain and having them there doesn't gain anything, right? So for us, that's literally really handed out NFTs to users that they can use for whatever they want, like stake them in Dungeon Master, or use them for our gamification, or just collect them, or sell them, or whatever they want, right? Or burn them. Some people just burn them out of fun. That's the part about the 1.2 million NFTs. With regards to the marketplace, we currently don't run our own marketplace yet. That's one of the parts on our roadmap, right? And what this really is a marketplace that's literally focused around gaming-based NFTs, right? If you look at OpenSea, OpenSea is a great place to trade, I don't know, Bored Apes and CryptoPunks, right? But there's 10,000 Bored Apes, right? And each of them is a one-of-one basically, right? So the way you actually look for Bored Apes, and it's even difficult to browse them in OpenSea, so you use third-party tools like rarity tools, whatever, right, to find out what you're getting. How rare is that, right? So you even use third-party tools for that. But even so, it's very easy to find the Bored Ape that you want on OpenSea. And now imagine you don't have kind of an NFT collection that has 10,000 individual items, but you have an NFT collection that represents items from a game. So that's basically anything that you could have in a game. And let's imagine that game has 10 million signed up users, which is not a lot for a mobile game, right? Imagine the number of NFTs that will have to be created for this game alone. That's hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of NFTs. And many of these NFTs will look very, very similar, or they will even look the same, right? Because it's kind of the same weapon that you receive, but maybe they will have different attributes, right? So you will have a long sword in an RPG that has damage 12, and then somebody else might have a long sword that has damage 13, right? So how do you distinguish them? How do you search for this kind of item if there's 500,000 of these items, right? And basically any item in a particular game is literally an NFT, right? So the marketplace experience for something like that has to be totally different than the marketplace experience for something like OpenSea items like Bored Apes, right? So this is what we're going to be focusing on having simple ways of filtering and searching for the right item. I don't even believe that the future of gaming marketplaces will be literal marketplaces where you go like on eBay or like on OpenSea right now, but it's going to be more hidden. So you want a better weapon, you want to see, and you will have an in-game UI piece where you will be able to say, okay, I want a better weapon, right-hand weapon for my character in my RPG. I'm level 13. Give me the best deal that I can have for the next upgrade while I'm level 13 with my character in this RPG, right? And then you'll get a list, and then you basically get 3 suggestions, and you buy one of them, right? And you don't even have to go to a separate third-party marketplace. So this is what we're going to be working on, this kind of experience as a marketplace, much more tailored towards mass market, much more tailored towards like mass numbers of NFTs, high, as we say, high volume, low value, because these items obviously will not be worth 100 ETH. They'll be worth a few cents, a few dollars, whatever, right? More this. So it's going to be like this high volume market, and this is what we're going to be preparing for.
I just wrote down one more question there because I'll tell you as kind of a traditional gamer. So I've played video games for the last 20 plus years of my life, and one of the pain points until today remains that when I'm trying to explain Web3 gaming to a friend and I'm trying to get them into a game, even if it's free to play, mind you, even if they don't need an NFT, but as soon as I say go to MetaMask, download the Chrome extension, write down your seed phrase, don't give it to anyone, set up a wallet. Like, I've lost them immediately on the spot. And I don't know if it's a combination of laziness, if it's a combination of like new tech that we're not familiar with, but I wanted to pause there because I know that you guys have something specific for this in terms of just making the experience seamless. I've seen it on one of the games that, obviously we asked you about earlier as well, but I wanted you to just walk us through that process because you talked about, NFTs adding utility, all the items in the game, not really caring much about the value going up, but more about just giving all that utility and ownership back to the players. Now, in terms of actually kind of combating that friction point, you could say, or like that barrier to entry, uh, talk to us about the Wombat wallet because that's one key piece that really excites me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that the best comparison with the experience that you have with Wombat as an app or the wallet aspect of it is a comparison with Steam, right? So if you want to experience kind of your achievements in the game, or also you want to share things with other people, you have no issue actually downloading the Steam client, right, and buying a game through that, and then having your data shared with the Steam backend and the Steam platform, right, where you see your stats about each individual game, you see your achievements, you see your skins that you can maybe trade, right, and people have no problem with that, right? But it's kind of this um, domain specific, game specific place where you do that, right? So we shouldn't think about wallets as kind of this all purpose kind of thing like MetaMask, right? We can deal with crypto assets. You should think about wallets like in the way that this wallet does this for you. And we shouldn't even think about the term wallet. We should think about the term of the domain, right? So we want to be like, so far Wombat has been mostly a wallet. We're about to release a 2.0 version of Wombat, which will include a lot of the functionality from OnePlay, and we're going to change its name to Web3 Gaming Platform, right? Because we don't want to just focus around this abstract kind of blockchain experience as a wallet, right? But more on the kind of what it does for you. So it's a platform through which you can find games. And what's cool about Web3 games in this sense is that all of your assets are not stored on a centralized server, right? But they actually live on public blockchains, and you can basically plug into all these games um, by just signing in or signing up with your wallet, right? So each of these games will basically know what your identity is as a gamer, and they will also see what kind of other NFTs they have based upon your blockchain address, right? And that's something that's very, very powerful because that actually enables this whole interoperability aspect, right? Which you don't have. It's not like you've never had that before, right? And now this is actually possible. You could give someone benefits for having an item from another game. This is exactly what we're doing within Dungeon Master to demonstrate how that actually works, right? And what NFTs are actually capable to do, or what can be done with NFTs, right? So the Wombat part is really kind of the central point where you through which you can access all these games, but you can also directly log in. You have your name, you have your status, right? You have your assets in there. Immediately you can pay. Immediately you can get the NFTs. You can immediately access these NFTs and so on. So it's kind of this condensed experience, and you don't have to scatter around with 500 different wallets. It doesn't have to be online wallets within the games. You don't have to trust each individual game developer with your like running a wallet for you, right? And I think it's just a matter of size and of getting or market dominance in a way, which players will be or which platforms will be accepted as kind of go-to login options or partner options. Like, how do you actually acquire these games, or how you log into these games?
Yeah, thank you so much for elaborating on that. While you were speaking, we dropped a question down in the chat, and we were asking, what number do people want to know a bit more about? I had one that I was looking at, which ended up, coincidentally almost winning. It's tied for first place. But I wanted to ask about your reported revenues, right? So you put down $3 million in revenue with 2.6 million signups, 65,000 daily active users, which I don't know if you're new to the Web3 gaming space. as a listener, but that's a very, very large number considering a lot of games struggle to get 1,000 daily active users. Imagine a combination of them managing to have that consistently. So focusing more a bit on kind of the revenue side of things, because that's what really showcases that a business is healthy and sustainable and can continue to obviously grow. Could you walk us through, I guess, the milestones and how you managed to get to that number or figure?
Yeah, maybe the most important thing to mention regarding that is that we're not doing the token as kind of a pure fundraising thing to replace revenue, right? We've been running the business for 3 years without a token, right? And we've been growing our revenues to this level by without having a token, by just doing what we do, by just doing the business, right? So for us, we are able to run a sustainable business without having having to sell a lot of tokens or drop a lot of tokens, dump a lot of tokens on our community, right? That's not the point at all. So for us, we started out rather small, because as a pure wallet business, it's actually you have to think about how you monetize. There's different ways, right? MetaMask have introduced their swap feature. Blockchain.com, which is probably the largest wallet in the world, they've also started running their own exchange. This is how they monetize. It's actually hard to monetize a wallet all by itself. For us, what we do, because we're gaming focused, it's very similar to kind of the Steam or Play Store or App Store business model. We typically get a share, either that's a fixed amount of money per download, or that's a revenue share from the game producers, game companies that we work with. So they pay us a little bit for every download, right? And this is how a lot of our revenues, or where a lot of our revenue is coming from. In the long run, because with Web3 gaming companies, they are not as aware about their own business models just yet, right? So they wouldn't know what their projected revenue is, how they actually monetize people beyond selling tokens or beyond selling NFTs, right? I'm not complaining. I'm really just saying we're still early, right? And Web2 gaming companies typically know exactly how much a user is worth after 3 minutes or even less, right? They can basically, because they have so many analytics around them, around users and around their games, they know immediately. They can project what the lifetime value of a player will be within literally very, very little time. We'll get there in Web3 as well, right? Because eventually people will want to run sustainable businesses on Web3 games as well, right? And this is what we've been doing, mostly also enabled through this hybrid model with Web2 and Web3 games, right? So we were able to build up a sustainable revenue model here, which obviously is helping us now in the bear market or crypto winter or whatever you want to call it, right? Where we're not as dependent on with our cash flows on kind of the market conditions, right? Because obviously, if the price of ETH goes down by 75%, the revenue of, let's say, OpenSea goes down by 75%, even if the trading activity stays the same, right? So we don't have this kind of problem as much.
I think, again, really important to highlight that, because we were just discussing earlier how I guess it's almost our fault as a as a space in general, where we've managed to entertain for so long all these different projects that came to the space super early on that were saying, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, blah blah blah, flash some logos, make a really nice trailer, here's some unseen footage that's never gonna come out because the game doesn't look as good, and then that's it, and they raise X amount. Whereas here it's literally you're talking about a sustainable business, plus now you're adding that kind of utility and sharing a bit of that with the community, more than just focusing solely on fundraising. Since we're talking so much about Web3 gaming and kind of the space and all of that stuff, I wanted to just highlight one key thing which seems to be a trend, and obviously we're seeing it with even some of the biggest names. Obviously Axie now also declining in numbers as kind of the Bitcoin of Web3 gaming, really. But there tends to be this, I guess I don't want to call it a decline, but almost like this down curve when a game comes out super hyped, really exciting, and then it just starts fading away. Obviously, games are working on improving that with IP, making it obviously a brand rather than just a game, focusing a lot more on the playability rather than the token side of things. But I wanted to get your perspective on this in terms of the strategies that you have to maintain that ecosystem, right? So now you have a bunch of games, you're working with a lot of partners, you've got, I don't know, whoever, Splinterlands, this, and that. What's, I guess, the key for you here to maintain that growth and maintain that healthy ecosystem without having it like just sharply decline moving forward?
Yeah, I think that if you look at us, we're kind of this cross-game bet on Web3 gaming, right? So with each individual game, you'll always have this kind of curve. No matter whether that's Web 2 or Web 3, in Web 3, the cycles are typically shorter than in Web 2 so far, right? With play-to-earn games, they basically have their economy flip after a while because people are basically playing these games for money rather than for the fun, right? So as soon as an economy flips, and we were basically projecting that for X Infinity as well, as soon as the economy flips, there is no incentive for new people to come in anymore and to actually spend money in the game, so that everything goes down immediately, right? The number of daily actives, marketplace prices, and there's kind of this vicious circle of what happens. We see very similar cycles in traditional games as well, right? Specifically in free-to-play and MMOs and stuff. So as soon as the game starts going down in its not necessarily economy, but in its user base, you have fewer people referring other users, right? Organic traffic is generally the best traffic. Like people referred by others are the most loyal players in traditional games as well. So you see kind of this cycle stopping as well at some point with traditional games. But for us, that's not a problem because we're not bound to one single game, right? For us, if one game is not fun to play anymore, or it's not successful anymore, or there's too little traffic, too few players in an MMO, whatever, we can just delist the game and list another. We don't have a lack of supply in games. For us, it's not about, okay, we could easily list hundreds of games on one play, right? It's not a problem of getting more, let's say, MMO RPGs or MMO strategy games in there. We could easily have hundreds, but to us, it doesn't add a lot of value to our users if we list 100 MMO strategy games on the platform, because they're all the same, right? Or they're very, very, very similar. Let's put it that way. If we already have a few games that are quite similar to one another, but we do want this diversity. We want games that are fun to play, and ideally we want the best of these categories, right? It's not about quantity, it's about quality, really, and about diversity. So that's the main point with the games, right? For us, we are basically this. Eventually, we want only Web3 games on the platform, right? Because that's what we believe in, and we want to give everyone kind of this full benefit of Web3. But whether or not a game kind of dies or a game economy dies, this is not of our concern, because that's just one of the 100, 200, 1,000 games that we'll have on the platform. Maybe at some point we'll have 10,000 or 100,000 games, just like Steam, right? Or look at how many games are in the Play and App stores, right? That's you can't even count them, right? You can't even keep up with the numbers, how many games are coming out every day. And we don't want to be like this super low barrier thing. We want to curate stuff, at least up until now, right? So we want to make sure that these games are actually fun to play. But we'll see what the future brings in that respect. But like I said, for us, we are basically benefiting from each individual cool game that comes out. But at the same time, we're not dependent on any single game.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think that's a great way to kind of wrap that segment up, and maybe now let's move the conversation a bit more towards talking about the token itself. I'm sure a lot of people are excited to kind of learn a bit more about the utility of the token, what's kind of the use case for it, why should I invest in it, why should I hold it, etc., etc. So I'll let you kind of maybe share a bit more about that. I'll start off with, what can I as an investor expect after the sale, right? Like I know it's a very broad question, but I've now, invested in Wombat. What happens next, right? What do I do with my tokens? What's my next step as an investor?
So obviously you can. It's your choice, right? That's why it's on the blockchain. You choose what you do with it. So the first thing that we're going to do is getting the token listed, so you can actually have liquidity for it, right? We'll be having centralized exchange listings for a token as well, but we'll definitely have decentralized exchange listings. So we're currently looking at Uniswap and QuickSwap, right? The token will be the IDO will take place on Polygon. So we'll definitely launch it on QuickSwap. We're looking at Uniswap as well. so that we have sufficient liquidity for the token, right? If for our users specifically, for people who are already in the Wombat ecosystem, there will be a very easy way of trading this, because our users having a wallet actually also are already crypto holders. A lot of them, over 1 million people, are holding crypto in their Wombat wallets, right? So it's like trading on a decentralized exchange is actually much easier for these people than trading on a centralized exchange. And I guess that for most Polkastarter users, it's the same, right? Because they're obviously using a decentralized platform to buy a token rather than to go they use a decentralized one rather than using a centralized one. So that's the first thing, right? The second thing is that we're going to be adding token staking. But just because we're saying token staking, everyone is imagining that they will be getting more tokens by staking the token. This is not going to be the case for us, right? I'm not a believer in token staking rewards per se, right? Because what happens is basically you have a token, you stake that, you give people like a, I don't know, 300% APY. That sounds great. So everyone starts staking the token. But what happens is that all the tokens that will be released through the 300% APY, these tokens will generally be sold, right? So this will basically dump the token price, which is not what we do, what we want to do, right? So for us, staking the token will give you benefits in the platform. So it's a real utility token, right? This is what we always wanted. We wanted our community members to have a way of actually being able to use the token by staking it, so they get to keep the benefits and the potential upside of the token, but at the same time, they're getting benefits right here, right now with the Wombat token. So we were talking about game rewards. There will be a boost on the rewards that you're getting, right? Depending on your staking level, there's going to be 5 different VIP levels in the beginning. You will get between 3 and 30% extra Wombats. You'll be getting access to exclusive drops. You'll be getting free NFTs from us. You'll be getting better NFTs if you get NFTs. There's going to be a lot of utility and a lot of benefits for staking the token. And then more in the long run, right? That's obviously a thing that we have to develop, and where we have to do together with the token holders is the governance model. Right, we already have, because we have this ecosystem that's already live, we don't have to kind of think about very unspecific things that can be governed by the token, but we can think about very specific things. So one thing that we also laid out in the white paper already is our community pool, right? As soon as we launch the marketplace, all of the marketplace fees, all of the revenue that we make with marketplace fees will be going into a community pool, and this community pool will be governed by Wombat token holders, right? So they will be able to decide what we do with these funds. But also they will be able to govern the marketplace fee level, right? Whether it's 2% or 3% marketplace fee that will be governed by the community. So they will have kind of this, we'll have to solve this game theoretical problem. Do we increase the fees at the expense of having more people trading on it, on the marketplace, and being kind of a competitive marketplace in terms of fees, as compared to the size of the community pool and the amount of fees going into there? So that's one thing. That's kind of also like a future thing, but also something that we can imagine, which has an immediate effect already in terms of governance, is which NFT collections should be stakeable on Wombat Dungeon Master. That's a very popular thing to become stakeable on Dungeon Master. We have a lot of applications, dozens of applications every season to be added as a stakeable NFT collection, because what happens is obviously that increases utility for these NFTs so much that floor prices and trading activities actually go up for these collections. So handing out the decision which collections shall be stakeable in Dungeon Master, and also at which mining weights they should be offered, so kind of what their value is within Dungeon Master. These are things that we would like to hand out to the community, because for us, it's really hard to watch hundreds of thousands of different NFTs that can be stakeable and base these decisions on market prices or whatever. But obviously, the community will be able to participate in that and help us with that. So these are things that are very, very specific, which we already have in mind, that we will launch in terms of governance as well.
Perfect. I mean, we touched on a bunch of, crypto terms and kind of crypto lingo there with staking. I want to take you into a very interesting topic, which is obviously now a hot topic because of the market conditions, fully diluted valuation. I want to kind of maybe understand a bit more how important this currently is given the market conditions, and can you tell us a bit more about kind of Wombat's fully diluted valuation at the moment?
I
Not an easy one.
generally, not an easy one, but for us, it like the fully diluted valuation is kind of a weird concept sometimes, right? And I think that some people are focusing way too much on it, as opposed to the current utility or the current what you can do with the token and what it actually enables you to do, right? So for us, the IDO is a way of getting or giving people access to the token at a known price, right? So the price will be like $0.006, so $0.6. That means that's a fully diluted valuation of 60 million, right? That obviously sounds like whatever. Some people say it's very little, based upon our traction compared to other projects, whatever. Some people say it's very high given the market conditions, whatever. But for us, it's really, what does that actually mean for, let's say, a person who wants to stake this token within Wombat? And if you now know that 200,000 tokens are required to reach VIP level 5, like 200,000 stake Wombat tokens, that means that in the IDO, you would have to spend $1,200 to acquire these tokens. And that's what you know, right? This is something that you know based upon the IDO valuation. Anything else is basically open, because if you want to, you can obviously choose to buy these tokens on the open market afterwards, but you don't know what the fully diluted valuation will be because you don't know what the price is going to be. And the price is going to be dependent on, well, market dynamics, right? Yeah, that's how I view basically the fully diluted valuation. We are giving out a small amount of tokens in total in the IDO, right? It's not going to be a lot of tokens, because we want to be very cautious with the total supply and kind of sell pressure and so on. Hence also our view on staking rewards, and APYs there, right? Given the market conditions, obviously, but at the same time, we want to give the community, like all the community, a method to actually have purchase tokens at a known and fixed price, because nobody really knows. Like anyone who predicts prices will be wrong, right? And we also don't do that. We don't like doing that, kind of trying to predict prices. And that's why we basically offer the token at this price, because it makes sense with the math, right? When you look at kind of the staking levels, and this is how we balance this.
You touched on something really important. I know I keep saying, I guess the more we talk, the more kind of questions come to my mind as well. And we've got a bunch written down. Obviously, we'll try to get some of the community ones in as well. But you talked about the market conditions. You talked about trying to, guess the price and not being able to. I guess the really the elephant in the room, the big looming question is why launch now in a market that doesn't really excite people as much, in a market where a lot of people are like, oh no, everything's down, everything's negative. um it's not all negative when you actually look at it. So I want to get your opinion on this, because it's a really interesting one. It's one that's not talked about enough. People tend to just want to delay and delay and delay and delay and keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But there are, there's a lot of research about projects that launch during downturns, during markets that are down, such as the condition we're in today. So I wanted to just really like pick your brain super quickly, on why you decided to go ahead even with everything that's happening.
It's funny because there was an article by CoinList on the weekend talking about exactly that, right? The benefits of launching a token in the bear market. And I don't want to really go into too much detail about benefits, because obviously for us, launching now will have benefits as soon as the market picks up again, right? But it's not for us. This is less of kind of a strategic thing, and we're thinking about macro markets all that much. But for us, it's really like we want to get the benefits of the token out to the people as soon as possible and enable the community as soon as possible. We've been preparing that for a year now, right? and just moving it will not gain us anything, right? Because for us, it's really like, okay, yes, we will have to sell the token at a much lower valuation, at a much lower price right now. We'll probably not sell as much, but that doesn't matter. Like I said, for us, this is not, we're not like fundraising through the IDO, right? For us, we're really just enabling people to get into the token at a price that they know, right? And that is reliable. And to us, that's the most important thing. And for us, really having people, having community members from the crypto community, from the Polkastarter community, but obviously also from the Wombat community holding tokens, and basically having this extra incentive of supporting the ecosystem and being bullish on the ecosystem, not just necessarily bullish on Bitcoin price or whatever. That's going to be very, very helpful. And we also think that we're sending a very strong signal that we're super confident about what we're doing, and that we're here in the for the long term anyway, right? We've been here for 3 years. For us, it doesn't matter. This is just this bear market is just a glimpse in this long journey, right? We've been through the last crypto winter in 2020 when Bitcoin crashed all the way down to 4.5 or so, 4,000, right? And this didn't kill us, right? So this bear market will not be able to kill us either, right? And we're just setting a sign of confidence, and we've been having discussions with people like you, but also with others, and everyone kept telling us if anyone can do an ICO, IDO, or whatever kind of token launch right now, then it's probably you, because you got the community, you got the traction, and you don't have to fear that this bear market will impact you all too much. And by the way, personally, I'm not worried about the market at all, right? I know we're still running some risks there, and there's still a lot of leverage in the market. But me having seen Bitcoin going from $90 to 1,300 in 2013, crashing because of Mt. Gox, right? Then going all the way up to 20,000 in 2017, crashing, right? I still feel super confident in the future of blockchain, the future of crypto, of Web3, of NFTs. To me, it's not a matter of whether, all this stuff, all this talk about, the NFT market is down, how do you react to that? And we're like, we don't care. We don't even see that all that much, right? We don't see that our NFTs get traded less just because the market is down, right? Obviously, the prices, when they're denominated in crypto, the prices are lower, but the overall volume is not impacted by the market all that much.
No, I think that's really well said there, because like you said, right now is where the builders are actually building, and all the noise is kind of quieting down, and it works both ways. It's not just the projects, it's also the investors, right? Because if anyone is investing money now, they're actually serious about, the future and what they're looking for, and they're not just trying to quickly flip, like the days of 100x, 200x, 300x, like on the same day. Like that kind of stuff is not on the table anymore short term. Therefore, everyone that's still in it is a bit more, I would say, serious. So definitely kind of everything that you say there resonates with what we were discussing earlier about potentially launching even with kind of the current market conditions. I want to quickly touch on one last question before we take a look at some of the community stuff, because I know we're about to reach the 1 hour mark. But the very last question on our list, at least for now, was in terms of unlocking tokens. We know that you're planning to unlock all the public sale tokens before any private rounds. And I guess question part A is, tell us a bit more why. The reason is obvious to me, but obviously to everyone listening in. And then the second part of the question is, in terms of the treasury allocation, which you have 10% unlocking a TGE, what are your plans to kind of mobilize that, or what do you plan to do with that allocation?
Yeah, so first part, for us, it's always been clear that whenever we sell large amounts of tokens in the private rounds to individual companies, we want them to be in for the long run, right? So we've had so many questions, specifically from flippers, funds who actually like 10-20% unlock a TGE, whether what their unlock a TGE is, and we said none, it's not going to happen. And we're very strict about that, and we lost a lot of potential investment opportunities because of that, and we're totally fine with that, because for us, it's not about making people rich in the short run. For us, it's about building something sustainable. And that sounds like a phrase, right? And everybody says that, but I think we have a lot of proof. And you can also, if you haven't been in the Wombat community, but you're from the Polkastarter community and you're hearing about us for the first time, just have a look at our Discord and just ask around some people, or like wherever you go, you will find that we're always focusing on the long term, right? So that's why the lockups we've been told that by a lot of advisors, the lockups for private sale investors are pretty long, and we're fine with that because they're fine with that as well, and they're also investing in the long term, right? For the public sale investors, yeah, we're just paying some tribute to the market conditions that we want to have a little bit of a like originally our idea was to unlock all the tokens upon TGE for public sale investors, for IDO investors, right? But we decided to have a little bit of a lockup in order to have a little more control over the total supply, right? And so that we there's more flexibility in terms of the price stability, right? And we have more time to basically build more utility for the token and react to price movements if need be. Right, with the treasury, the plan is to keep that for a long, long time, right? It's kind of the tribute that we're paying to our equity holders, right? Because we've been an equity-funded company for years, and they don't get token allocations. You can see it in the allocation schedule as well, right? There is no allocation to like early backers or whatever. So that's how the 10% treasury has come up, so that we need kind of majority decisions, super majority decisions by the board to actually be able to move those tokens, right? And it's not planned to move them anytime soon, right? But just in case we have, for instance, OTC deals on the table or whatever, we had those tokens unlocked. But it's not, for us, it's not easy. It's not easy at all to move those tokens around. It's like it looks like they're very liquid, but they're actually the least liquid tokens as compared to the unlock schedules of the others.
Perfect. No, I think that just clarifies things, I guess, for everyone that's in the chat. I'm gonna pick a few questions. We'll try to run through them really quickly over the next 3 to 5 minutes tops. And I'll pick and choose. So, because we've covered like a lot of these things, you talked about utility and things like that. One interesting question though is obviously with gaming, you see how content creators are really key. Usually, like Ninja is why Fortnite became famous, and you can kind of always make these connections. There's a question that asks specifically in terms of like a content creator, a blogger, a gamer in general, like, do you have any plans in terms of integrating them into your ecosystem in any way? How would that work? Is it like an affiliate program? Is it I don't know, a content creator program? Is there anything that's maybe down the roadmap, or any way that you kind of see these content creators getting involved in your ecosystem?
So I guess there's two parts to that, and one is where are they, right? And the second is how can we interact with that? So our goal or our vision would be to integrate as much content creation and creativity and influencers into the platform itself. So you have an easy way of basically clicking on somebody's stream about a game rather than just having to play this game, right? You might also want to watch a stream about the game first, right? And see what it's like and how you can have fun with that, or maybe also in terms of learning something about the game that should be integrated in the platform eventually, right? So we have rather vague plans of integrating streaming and other content forms into the platform themselves, right? I think that what Theta have been doing is something actually really cool, combining crypto with kind of these aspects. Although I really like, in terms of streaming, I really prefer YouTube, or specifically Twitch. I really like Twitch in terms of a game content creation platform. Yeah, we're not on Twitch right now, I know. So that's the one part. The other part is content creators that we work with, and we're happy to speak about different models. We don't have kind of a standardized affiliate or whatever model, but we have a lot of content creators who we support and who support us, specifically when it comes to creators of NFT collections, for instance, that we work with Dungeon Master. We have a lot of collabs there. We have a lot of cross promotion there. And it's been a spring of creativity, this whole Dungeon Master thing, although it's only been around for 8 months. right? We've had a lot of a lot of different creators coming up with awesome ideas of how to do things and what to do and how NFTs can be integrated in that. So that's been kind of the most active side of content creators. We're happy to discuss that with if there's any content creators out there who want to talk to us. We're super happy to do that. We've been working with a ton of them.
Perfect. I'll take two more really quickly as well. So one is specifically asking in terms of potentially doing collaborations with big brands, and they've listed out a bunch of like gaming big brands. So I see PUBG, Call of Duty, things like that. Do you think that's something that is at least, I wouldn't say short term, but midterm possible? Is that something even in your plans? Are you only looking at Web3 gaming? Like, what does that look like for you?
I mean, we're looking at all kinds of companies and specifically game companies, obviously, who want to do business with us, right? With regards to the mobile games, we already do have some of the largest publishers in the world who we're working with, right? So if you look at the games, right, there are some of the largest players in there with like billion-dollar companies with hundreds of millions of downloads, right? That's not a piece of cake. With these like really triple A game, like specifically on desktop and console game companies, it's much more difficult with them. They're very cautious when it comes to NFTs and crypto or Web3, right? They've had their fingers burnt in the space, and so they're much more cautious. We're super open talking to them and helping them. Basically getting initial traction in Web3 space and these kinds of things. But I think it's right now if they're focusing on Web3, they're building their own closed ecosystems again, right? Which is not what we're focusing on. We're building an open ecosystem for us. Everyone should be able to make their own choices. So while I would really like that to happen, I don't see a lot of fit just yet. Maybe in the next bull run, the next kind of wave of adoption of crypto gaming and NFT gaming.
Yeah, when the time is right, when Ninja starts playing Web3 games. The last one is a bit of a shill here because it asks, why did you choose Polkastarter to launch your IDO on?
Like when we chose the IDO platform, we realized that there's hundreds of launch pads, right? But there is only a handful of really solid and good ones, right? Where you have quality control and they have great processes and there are people who you can actually talk to. And the best thing that we saw was Polkastarter. So we're super happy to do the IDO with Polkastarter, and we're really happy how it's going, how the reception has been, and what kind of feedback we've been getting, and we're also super happy to be on the live show with you. So there's nothing to complain about. We're really happy.
Yeah, it was like I had a gun held to your head, and I was like, "Why'd you choose Polkastarter?" No, I mean this is great. I think it's the first time we've done one of these, live as well. It's always nice to see. Just I think having conversations on AMAs and Twitter Spaces is always nice, but it's always just voices. Now you get to actually see, and I think moving forward we could even do stuff where we show the platform potentially and things like that. But I think I don't want to take more of your time. I do, however, want to wrap things up and let everyone know, again, if you joined us for the past hour, thank you so much for giving us your time. Hopefully, you've learned a lot more about Wombat. Hopefully, you've understood a bit more about the business and what they do. Also, since we're doing the oats and we're doing the giveaways that we discussed earlier with with Adrian as well, you're going to be needing a code as soon as you get into that form, and the code is going to be, quite fittingly the date that we're doing the IDO. So it's going to be 0727, right? So that's the 27th of July, 0727. I'll repeat that one last time, 0727. That's your code. Adrian, thank you so much for joining. Do you have any kind of final words, I guess, that you want to share with everyone in the community and everyone listening in?
No, just really looking forward to finally launching the token, to doing the IDO. For us, that's really exciting. That's a once in a lifetime thing, at least for us, right? There are other people who do that, who sell tokens like candy. For us, it's very, very exciting. Sometimes we dub ourselves the probably most German, because we're based in Berlin, Germany, right? We dub ourselves the most German crypto startup out there. And for us, it's really, we've been putting a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that. So it's not kind of an easy thing that we just set up within a few weeks or whatever. For us, we've been working on the white paper for years, basically, on all kinds of parts. We've been working on the business for a really long time. We're here for a long term, and we're super happy for any single person who joins us on the journey by buying the token in the IDO, by being interested in it, by joining our community. So really happy to welcome the Polkastarter community to our family as well, and really looking forward to the 27th and everything that happens after that.
Yeah, there's tons of exciting stuff that I think we could do together for sure. I think even with Polkastarter Gaming, we'll definitely plan a bunch more spaces. I think we'll do a lot of stuff, just to kind of get that word more out. And I think just as a solution, it's perfect for games, and then it just like fits in really well with kind of breaking that barrier and lowering it and removing friction. So we're all super excited. I think at Polkastarter Gaming specifically, like we're just like over the moon trying to get this going as soon as possible and getting our hands dirty with everything that's Wombat related. So thank you so much, Adrian, for joining. Thank you for all the answers and all your time, of course. And thank you to everyone that tuned in. That'll be it for today, but thank you all for joining.
Thanks a lot, Omar.
Thanks, Adrian. And I think we go offline sometime now. I'm not exactly sure. Should be offline. Yes, Johnny, no. Mute, unmute.